Hi, I'm Preston and this is Seat's Basement. With me today is Chris Seat and Xavier. We are here to talk about Emmitt Till and two young boys who went through a similar situation as Emmitt Till, just in a more modern day situation. Now they're all tragedies, but Chris, would you like to elaborate on Emmitt Till's situation?
Yes, I'd love to. Emmitt Till was a 14-year-old African-American boy who was from Chicago. He was in Mississippi visiting family, with some family, and the way things are in Chicago regards to treating people or treating white people to people with color is a little different in Chicago as it is in Mississippi. And Emmitt Till might have not known the differences from traveling from the north part of America to the south part of America. He might not have realized how racist the South really was. Emmitt Till was described as a responsible and high-spirited young kid to anyone that described him. One time when he was at a convenience store, he decided to wolf whistle at a female named Carolyn Bryan. That might have been a little different than the repercussions might have been a little bit different in the South than how it would have been up north in Chicago. In Chicago, they might have just laughed it off. They might have scolded him, but it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But in Mississippi, where he was visiting and where this occurred, was much different.
And if I can interject, his mom had told him about this, and she tried to warn him, he can't, be acting like he did just because, the ways are different back there, and you don't know what could happen or how people could take offense to it. So, if only he'd listened to his mom. But in the end, what he did, it just doesn't constitute what happened. It shouldn't have happened, but it's a tragedy.
And what did? He was beaten, killed, and thrown in a river. And he was beaten so brutally that they couldn't even identify the body. The only way they could identify his body was by a ring that his mom had given him right before he went on the trip. It's some very tragic stuff. Yeah, his mom did decide to have an open casket funeral because she thought it'd be beneficial to see how rough the South really was and how mistreated that African Americans were treated in the South, and the differences between the North and the South, and it kind of just to prove a message that things are different and it's horrible what's happening to these people, and it's legal. No repercussions are happening to the people that are doing this.
And also with us is Xavier, who has the story on two people that went through similar situations just in modern times. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yep, these two guys who had Down syndrome, Ethan and Gilberto, were victims of police brutality. Ethan was forced from his movie theater seat and was confused and refused to do so because of his Down syndrome. It caused him to have some fears. And the police officers then proceeded to handcuff him. In this process, he was restricted so severely that he was restricted from breathing and did in fact die. It's very tragic.
Understand, these police officers, they were off duty, they were in normal clothes, and he just got scared, and he doesn't like to be touched. So then when the police officers started grabbing at him, he started to freak out a little bit. And the aide that was with him at the time, she told the police officers, he doesn't like to be touched, and the whole situation could have been handled, and I guess that's why it's a tragedy.
Yeah, it's just something that really kind of sucks. Well, on to the next story. Gilberto was walking on the street and was stopped by police officers because there was a bulge in his pants, which resisted his colostomy bag. The policeman attempted to handcuff him, and he was, restricted because of his fear of being touched. The police then struck him in the face and body slammed him into the ground, causing bleeding from his face and multiple contusions to the head. The police, after the incident, when they were interviewed by the media, they said that they were not aware of the fact that he had Down syndrome, which is fairly hard to believe because his sister then intervened and said that he's 5'3", 130 pounds, and extremely obvious that he has Down syndrome. And just a little fact: these police officers were from the Miami-Dade Police Department.
And then also with the other case, it was pretty obvious that the guy had Down syndrome. He was 5'6", 295 pounds, and his sister actually was also, she went out to speak about it, and his sister had, she had done everything she could to get answers about what happened because the police officers weren't convicted in that case, and they kept their jobs and everything, and the whole situation was just dealt with very poorly, and I guess that's why we're here, because this kind of thing can't keep happening.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah, in the Ethan and Gilberto cases, they tried to press charges on the police officers, but none of the charges really stuck, which is kind of, they thought it was kind of fishy, but it just turned out that it kind of gets mixed up with, police brutality and with using necessary force, which is, it's hard to judge if you're not there what was actually occurring.
Now, either of you could give me an answer for this, but how do you think the Emmitt Till story relates to, those modern day cases that, we see keep coming up?
I think they're both similar and different at the same time because, yes, we've made big strides racially to not judge people no matter what part of the United States you're in.
Well, what I noticed from a couple points that are pretty prevalent here is that people tend to change, whether it be race, whether it be autism, whether it be sexual orientation. People tend to find something to judge people on. We made huge strides in religion, ethnicity, whether you're autistic or not. Those cases still do occur, and that's really what needs to be eliminated, is those little discrepancies. They just shouldn't happen. That's basically all I have to say.
Yeah. People, we still talk about discrimination in America, and it still happens, race, sexual orientation, anything like that. But one thing that I don't think you can argue is that we've come a long way since, for Emmitt Till, back in 1955, and, since then the Civil Rights Movement, it's all just, we've been getting closer to equality. So that about wraps it up. I'd like to thank Xavier and Chris, and, once again, this is Seats Basement, signing off.
Boom.
Emmitt Till was a 14-year-old boy. Alexander, it's not funny. He's 14.
He's like laughing at everything.
Put that in the blueprint.
Yeah.
He's 14. What's funny about him being 14?
You just set it up and it can.
Alright. Emmitt Till was a 14-year-old African-American boy living in Chicago. You don't have to talk. You just say, don't